Hello and welcome to the readings of Bible story. We are finishing volume 2. I'm actually enjoying these stories. They are a bit heavy stuff, but they're actually quite enjoyable if you take time to listen properly, and if there's something that you find difficult to understand, you can ask an adult or someone older than you to help you understand what the stories are saying. And I urge parents, grandparents, aunties to help children to understand these stories. We are on story 6 on part 4, and it says, Called by name. Called by name. It is found in Exodus chapter 34. Shall we pray? Good morning, dear Jesus. This day is for you. I ask you to bless all I think, say, and do. Amen. When Moses came down from Mount Sinai this time, after spending yet another 40 days and 40 nights with God, his face shone with a strange and wonderful light. It was so bright that even his own brother Aaron felt afraid to come near him. So were the rest of the people. Before Moses could talk with them, he had to cover his face with a veil. Maybe if we lived close to God as long as Moses did, our faces would shine too. Things were different in the camp now. There was no golden calf this time. The people had learned their lesson. They were ready now to build the sanctuary that God had told Moses about some weeks before. But first, Moses gave them a test to see how much they really cared for God. Moses asked them to bring to God an offering of gold, silver, bronze, jewels, spices, oil, fine linen, and skins of various kinds. He knew that the people had all these things and that they had taken most of them from the Egyptians during their last night in slavery. He could have reminded them that they wouldn't have had any of this wealth if God had not delivered them, and that it all really belonged to him, but he didn't. Instead, he told them that God wanted gifts only from people who were willing to give. If some of them didn't feel like giving, that was all right with God. They could keep their things. Everyone who is willing is to bring to the Lord an offering of gold, silver, and bronze, he said. No one else. As the Israelites went back to their tents, the faithful old leader must have wondered what they would do. Up to now, God had given them everything they had. This was the first time they had ever been asked to give anything to him. What would they do? Moses must have watched their faces. Some looked pleased that they could do something to say thank you to God for all his goodness to them. Others looked glum, telling themselves that if they gave up their valuables now, they would never get any more, not in this desert. All the people went to their tents. Soon, in little groups, they began to return to where Moses stood waiting for them. I don't know who got back to him first, but it could have been a little boy bringing some precious trinket that an Egyptian had given him. Or it might have been a little girl with a silver bracelet she treasured very much. Boys and girls ran so much faster than older people that they could have been first, couldn't they? And how children do love to give what they can to God. If some of the children did get there before the others, I'm sure Moses gave them a wonderful smile of thankfulness. There may have been tears in his eyes too, and they thought that the children loved God best. Then came the rest, bringing whatever they felt they could spare. They streamed toward Moses from every part of the camp, and everyone who was willing and whose heart moved him came and brought an offering to the Lord. All who were willing, men and women alike, came and brought gold jewelry of all kinds, brooches, earrings, rings, and ornaments. Everyone who had blue, purple, or scarlet yarn, or fine linen, or goat hair, ram skins dyed red, or hides of sea cows brought them. Those presenting an offering of silver or bronze brought it as an offering to the Lord, and everyone who had acacia wood brought it. It seemed as though somehow, somewhere, the people found everything they needed to build God's tabernacle. That's what a willing spirit does. It must have been a wonderful sight. All the people bringing what they could, helping the best way they knew how, and they looked so happy about it. Giving to God made them feel good all over. When all the gifts were in and piled up around Moses, he told them more about his plans for building the sanctuary. First, he announced the name who would be in charge of the work. The Lord has chosen Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. If there was one surprised man in the camp at that moment, it must have been Bezalel. And he would have even more surprised if he had known that God had actually mentioned him by name to Moses on the top of Mount Sinai. Blushing, Bezalel came forward. He was a young craftsman, not used to do anything like this. Certainly he had never expected any such honor. What could God need from him? Then he learned something. He discovered how much God knew about him. Pointing to Bezalel, Moses said, "The Lord has filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, ability, and knowledge in all kinds of crafts, to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut and set stones, to work in wood, and to engage in all kinds of artistic craftsmanship. And he has given both him and Oholiab, son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan, the ability to teach others." What a youth! He couldn't have been very old, for he was the grandson of Hur, who had held up Moses' hands in the battle with Amalekites only a few weeks earlier. But he was filled with God's Spirit. He was wise. He was a skilled workman in both metal and wood, a jeweler and a wood carver. Most important of all, he could teach others how to do all these things. Few people knew that there was anybody like this in the camp, but God knew that he needed a good man for a big job, and he said, "I want Bezalel." God called him by name, so there would be no mistake. It just shows how much God knows about all of us. He knows what we can do, what kind of training we have had, what kind of spirit is in our hearts, and he knows our names. What do you suppose he knows about you? Will he ever call you to do a big job for him? Oh, what a great honor when God calls you by your name to do a job for him, because he knows all of us. He knows what we can do, our different abilities, according to the talents that he's given us. All he needs, boys and girls, is a willing heart to say, "Yes, Lord, I can do this for you." Thank you for joining me. I enjoyed this story very much, and God bless. See you again tomorrow.